Hello, this is Dr. Bassey, Real Estate with Dr. Bassey. I hope you're doing well. Just for this session, I just want to get you started. I want to give you some tips to get started in getting your own real estate property. If you already have your first property, congratulations to you. And if you don't yet have a property, I think it's a good idea looking into getting one. I do strongly believe that property acquisition is one of the manifestations of the dimensions of God's blessings in the life of a man or a woman. So I believe that you're doing the right thing by tuning in. Uh, if this is your first time, I'd like for you to let me know. For those who are enrolled at Law University for this real estate class, you are welcome. Just a few things I want you to remember. I want you to have my email address. Okay, very important. The email address will be ownyourhome@johnbassey.org. Again, that's ownyourhome@johnbassey.org. OWNYOURHOME @johnbassey.org. All right, so I'm just going to go around this particular property. I traveled recently all the way from New York. Right now I'm in Canada, Manitoba. I came for some ministerial event and a ministerial assignment, and I'm actually here. So if you want a house like this, you can have it. It's all up to you. The choice is yours to make, whether you're in New York, whether you are in Canada, whether you're in England, whether you are in Africa. It's all up to you. You just have to know what it takes to acquire these properties. I can tell you right now, it's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. It's just a matter of you putting your mind to it, understanding how it works, understanding how property acquisition works. That's all you need. Don't let any house intimidate you. You can have what you desire. Whatever you desire, whatever you can be yours. You only have to desire it. You only have to want it. You have to know what it takes to get it. And once you can put all those into perspective, there's nothing stopping you. There's nothing stopping you. So again, don't forget my email. That's ownyourhome@johnbassey.org. So for today, for this session, I just want to tell you the first important step you must take, in pursuit of your acquisition of your property. You need to stop being a tenant. You need to be a homeowner. Okay, you need to be a homeowner, because when you continue to be a tenant, you're actually not helping yourself. Home ownership is a form of investment. There are so many perks to home ownership, so many benefits to home ownership. One of those benefits is tax deduction. And also your property can build equity over time. Okay, but today I'm gonna focus on getting started. Okay, just a second. Yeah, so we're just gonna focus on getting started. So how do you start? How do you start with your property acquisition? Okay, you want to, if there's anything in life you want to get started with, there is a step one, followed by the next series of steps, and then you get to your final destination. Okay, to acquire a property, either in New York, either in Canada, either in England, there's what is called pre-qualification. Okay, pre-qualification. Another word for that is pre-approval. Usually pre-approval has more weight than pre-qualification, but most times they use them interchangeably. Okay, so what does it mean to get pre-qualified? To get pre-qualified means that you need to be able to show to the bank who is going to finance the property for you that you are capable of paying the house, meaning to say you're capable of paying monthly payment for the house. Okay, they're not gonna ask you to pay for the whole house. Okay, but they're just gonna look at your credentials, your did I say credentials? Yes, they look at your portfolio, your financial portfolio, to see if you are able to afford the required monthly payments. They call it mortgage. Okay, so the bank will give you a mortgage of like 30 years. That's usually the norm. Some people, based on their income, if they have more money to show, the bank can also do a 15-year mortgage for them. Some people have 30-year mortgage, but they're able to pay it down in 15 years. They're able to pay it off in 15 years. Okay, so typically people start with 30 years mortgage. Okay, so how do you get pre-qualified? You need a couple of documents to show the bank that you can pre-qualify to buy a property. Number one, the bank wants to see that you have an income. Okay, the bank wants to see that you work, that you are worthy to buy a property, meaning to say you can afford the required monthly payments. Okay, so depending on the price of the property you want, that's going to determine the amount of income the bank is looking for. For instance, if you're going to buy a property going for $100,000, if you want to buy a property going for $100,000, the bank would need you to put down what is called down payment. Okay, so the bank wants to see that you have the down payment for the house. Okay, in New York, the down payment in New York is actually 3.5% of the purchase price. Okay, that's 3.5% of the purchase price. The 3.5 is actually given by Federal Housing Administration. We call them FHA, Federal Housing Administration. So if you want to buy a property of $100,000, your down payment is just 3.5%, which in that case would be 3,500. If you have a calculator, you could just do the calculation. 3.5% of $100,000, that is $3,500. That's how much you need to put down if the price of the property is $100,000. Now, keep in mind that New York is big. You have New York City, you have 5 boroughs in New York City in particular, and then you have upstate New York. You have upstate New York, some properties, upstate New York, you can find properties cheaper, upstate New York. But in New York City, properties tend to be very expensive. Okay, so if you're going to buy a property in New York City, let's just say the property is going for $200,000. So now that means that you need 3.5% of $200,000. Okay, you will need 3.5% of $200,000. Now keep in mind, 3.5% of $100,000 is $3,500. So that means 3.5% of $200,000. So that means $100,000 plus $100,000. So if you need 3,500 plus another 3,500, which will give you 7,000. So if the price of the property is $200,000, it means that you will need $7,000 in down payment. Okay, so now let's take it further. Let's say the property you want to buy happens to be $300,000. Okay, the property you want to buy is $300,000. So that means you need 3.5% of 3,000. I mean, excuse me, 3.5% of $300,000. So that means 3,500 for $100,000 property, another 3,500, two, and then another 3,500. So you need 3,500 plus 3,500 plus another 3,500. So that gives you what? $10,500. If you're buying a property worth $300,000, you're going to need $10,500. Okay, let's do the calculation again. For $100,000 property, you need 3.5%, which is 3,500. If it's $200,000, it means you need double of that. It means you need 3,500 plus 3,500, which will give you 7,000. If you're buying $300,000 property, it means you need $100,000 times 3, right? You are buying a purchase price of $100,000 times 3, which is $300,000. And for each $100,000, you need 3,500 plus 3,500. That's what? 7,000 plus another 3,500. That's $10,500 in down payment. That's how much you'll be needing. Okay? Don't forget, we are talking about pre-qualification. What can get you pre-qualified for your property? Because it's good for you to know so that you can plan towards it. Okay? Knowing is very important. Knowledge is very important. Okay, then what you know helps you in making your decisions. Your decisions is going to help you to make your choices. It's going to discipline you so that you can reach your goal. Okay, so now if the property you are looking at is $400,000, that means you're adding another 3,500, which will make it $14,000 in down payments. Okay, so you're gonna need $14,000 in down payments. If the property price you want to buy is $500,000, let's do this. $500,000. So that means you need 3,500. 1, 3,500, 2, 7,000, 3,500, 10,500, another 3,500, 14,000, another 3,500, that's 17,500. Again, that's 17,500 for a property going for $500,000. Okay, so the bank is going to want to see that you have the down payment, as I just described, depending on the purchase price. So that's the first thing the bank wants to know, that you have the down payment. So of course, the bank expects that you're working and that you've been saving the money. This money must be from your own account, okay, from your paycheck. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the do's and don'ts of the down payments in a different video. Okay, I'm gonna share that with you in a different video. Make sure you watch that as well. The do's and don'ts of down payments. Okay, that's another thing entirely. All right, so once your down payment is sorted out, the next thing the bank wants to look at is to see how much the take-home pay you take, you take from your paycheck. Let's say if your net is, let's say if your net amount from your job is $2,000, the bank wants to see if you are able to afford, they use what is called debt to income ratio. Okay, the bank uses debt to income ratio, DEBT, to income, INCOME, income ratio. What does that mean? The bank wants to see that the amount you use to pay all your debts, credit card debts, let's say if you have a credit card payment of $50 every month, plus, let's say your mortgage would be $1,200. The bank would add $1,200 plus $50 that you pay every month. Let's say you have a car note. You have a car note of $200. Say you pay $200 every month for your car note. So that's $1,200 for your projected mortgage per month. 1,200 plus credit card note of $50. That's 1,250 plus your car note of $200. So that's 1,450. So that would be your debt. Okay, the bank wants to see how much that would be altogether to income. So if you're going to be paying 1,450 as your debt every month, the bank wants to see that you still have about the same amount left available for you. Do you understand? So after paying 1,450 for your mortgage, your credit card, and your car note, the bank wants to see that you still have some extra money available to you. Okay, debt to income ratio. All right, I'm going to probably do another video to explain that further. Okay, so the bank pretty much, let's just think of it this way. Let's just think of it as 50-50. The bank wants to see that after you've paid your mortgage, that you still have another 50% left with. Okay, some banks want you to use 40% just to pay for your debt, and they want you to have 60%. Some banks want you to use 45% to pay for your debt, and they want you to have 55% available to yourself. And this is what makes banks different from banks. What it makes banks differ from banks. That's why some banks will not approve someone to buy a property simply because they are very strict. Some bank might say they only want you to use 30% to pay for your debt, and then they want you to have 70%. Some banks might say, oh, we are more flexible. We can take, some banks will say, okay, we can take 40%, have you use 40% for your debt, and then you can have 60% to yourself. Some banks will say 50-50 is fine with us. And that's what makes some big banks different from some smaller banks. Okay, big banks, sometimes they are very strict, and sometimes you get the best deal from them. It all depends. Sometimes the smaller banks have better deals than the bigger banks. Okay, but the most important thing is you having a good income. Okay, so your income should be able to show that your bank, after you paying your debt, you still have some good amount of leftovers. Okay, so typically for someone who wants to buy a property of $100,000, if your income is $50,000 or less, let's say, let me not say that, let's say between $40,000 and $50,000, your take-home pay. If your take-home pay is not bad, you should be able to afford a $100,000 property. If your income is between 60 and 70,000 per annum, again, they have to factor in debt that you have. If you have so many credit cards, that's still going to affect the ratio. Okay, if you need help with this, you want to see if you will qualify, let me know. Send me an email. I'm going to send you to my team who takes care of that department. Okay, I'm going to send you to my team who takes care of that department. So send an email. Once you send the email, I will forward it to my team representative who can help with that. Okay, I don't want anything to stop you from owning your own property. All right, so we've talked about purchase price. We've talked about your income, right? Your income, your debt to income ratio. Just a second. So we've talked about purchase price. We've also talked about your debt to income ratio. Now, the other thing I want to talk about as I wrap up this session is your credit score. Okay, your credit score. This is very important. Your credit score is very important. Some people would say, I don't care about my credit. If I'm going to buy anything, I'm going to buy cash and I don't want to deal with credit. Well, I totally understand where that thought is coming from. But the system of where you're living, if you're not living in Africa, if you're living in Europe, the system is a little different. It's essential that you build your credit. The bank wants to see that your credit can give them some information about who you are financially, if you are committed to paying your debt, if you're committed to keeping your promissory note, any promissory note you sign with people. If someone gives you money and lends you money, the bank wants to see how well you paid them back. Okay, and all of those things, they help to determine your credit score. So the bank uses that to see if they can extend a mortgage to you, which means you're gonna have the house. The bank is gonna finance the house. The property will technically become yours, and also can still be the bank's. If you don't pay your mortgage, the bank can come and take back the property. Okay, but once you have a job, once you have income coming in, you shouldn't have any issue with that. All right, so the bank wants to see your credit score. How do you build your credit score? That I'm going to share in another video on how you can build your credit score. So as I begin to wrap this up, it's very essential that you understand the concept of the down payment. You have to be able to save depending on the category you fall in. If you're buying a $100,000 property, you need a minimum of $3,500 saved in down payments. If you're buying upstate or someplace, that is different from a very expensive place, you could buy a property, in that range. You only need 3,500. If you're living in New York, Federal Housing Administration. If you live in Canada, if you live in England, find out about the down payment. It's similar. Okay? Some countries may require you to give 10%. And if that is the case, then you plan to save up to that 10%. Just put your mind there, and you can do it. Once you are committed to it, you will get there. Just keep this in mind. If somebody else can purchase a property, God can help you too. Do you understand? If somebody else can purchase a property, you can do what they did and you will have yours too. So don't you ever look down on yourself. Don't you ever feel like it's impossible. Don't you ever feel like it's too late. Okay? The team that I work with, we have helped so many people. Even I myself, when I was going to get a property many years ago, I had some issues myself. I had some difficulties myself. But with prayers to God and commitment with the help of God and strong faith in God, God helped me. I scaled through. God is going to help you too. Nothing is difficult for you to achieve. Wherever you are, especially when you have realized that this is where you will be staying for a long time. Okay, maybe if you moved from one place to another and you just realize you're going to be there for a long time, I think it's a good idea to own a property there. I think it's a very good idea to own a property there. Find out about the requirements wherever you are. So if you live in New York, if you live in the United States of America, any part of the United States of America, inbox me, ownyourhome@johnbassey.org. Okay, ownyourhome@johnbassey.org. Okay, so that I can give you tips on how you can, go to the next steps. So I have other series of videos that I'm going to want you to watch. This is just the first part. So I'll be coming your way again. Okay? All right. This is Real Estate with Dr. Bassey. Bye now.